Hello everyone, my name is Blister, and today we're going to take a look at the Hunter talents for Classic WoW. Today we're here to break down survivability, marksmanship, and the beast mastery trees for the Hunter. The Hunter is one of the more simple classes to go over. There isn't a lot of playroom with any of the specs, and every spec has one major purpose. Let's start with the strongest of the PvE specs, Marksmanship. When it comes to Marksmanship, it's mainly used for PvE DPS. Marksmanship does not really see much gameplay when it comes to PvP. Because of that, we're only going to take a look at two of the most commonly used PvE specs from Marks. So here is the first example. There are a lot of things to touch on here. 18 in the survival tree is pretty close to a requirement for early raiding. It will also be a major help for getting into raids. Sure-footed is going to help you get to the hit cap. These talents will be optional once you get the required gear for the hit cap though. As soon as you have the hit cap, you should spec out of this and put 3 extra points into improved aspect of the Hawk. Survivalist, deterrence, and deflection are going to help you with your survivability in solo play and in a group environment. Savage strikes, humanoid slaying, and monster slaying are all going to help you with your DPS. Savage strikes is optional here. You can move it around, but it will offer you the best DPS increase for the last 2 points in survival. Monster and humanoid slaying is going to be a nice boost to almost all of your damage in a PvE environment. It's not very often you will find yourself fighting an enemy in a raid environment that isn't covered by one of these two creature types in these talents. The first question people usually have about the marksmanship talent choices is the pick of 3 points into Hawk's Eye over taking 5 out of 5 of improved Hunter's Mark. Hunter's Mark is a huge part of the Hunter's gameplay. If you can guarantee that you will always be within range of the target, then sure, taking 5 out of 5 improved Hunter's Mark is better for your increase in DPS. But you can't always do that. And remember, if you're not hitting the boss, then you're doing 0 DPS. Another thing to consider is that if you're in a 40-man raid, only one person needs to have the Hunter's Mark up. Oftentimes, one hunter will be designated to be the mark for the boss, so other hunters don't have to put 5 out of 5 into improved Hunter's Mark. If that is the case, these 2 points can be placed elsewhere. Scattershot is the only other talent that may not make a lot of sense at first. Hunters who take this for a PvE situation are usually using it alongside of a Feign Death and Freezing Trap macro. Here's an example of what the Beast Mastery and Marksmanship build would look like. This build comes with the caveat of one thing. Your pet has to be in a position to always be able to hit the boss. The Marks talents here remain unchanged, and all of the additional talents in Beast Mastery are focused around increasing the DPS from your pet. The only real flexibility you have here, again, is if you have a designated hunter for the 5 out of 5 improved Hunter's Mark. So now let's take a look at Beast Mastery. Beast Mastery is usually the spec that you see most commonly used for leveling because of how strong your pet can become. It is also a strong option for farming instances, and again, that's because of how strong your pet can get. Here's a quick peek. The 3 biggest talents from this spec are going to be Improved Aspect of the Eagle, Intimidation, and Bestial Wrath. As I said, this spec is very strong for leveling, and it will also make leveling very easy. The reasoning behind taking Marksmanship over Survival is for the extra damage. Survival adds a lot of personal sustain, and because you're focusing on having your pet be your personal tank, you don't need your own personal sustain because of the pet. Mortal shots, aimed shot, and lethal shots all significantly help with your DPS. If you can guarantee that you're going to be in a group with a hunter that has True Shot aura, and your pet is going to be able to be on the boss 100% of the time, you will occasionally see this spec in a 40-man environment. There are only 2 things you lose out on: ranged weapon specialization and extra AoE DPS with Barrage. Some people will take a similar approach to this spec in PvP as well because of the extra stun that Intimidate offers. This spec doesn't allow much, if any, flexibility with spending talents. We need as much damage as we can get from our pet, and we need as much damage boost for ourselves as we can get as well. The only talents that you really have that don't offer any of that is bestial swiftness and pathfinding. I personally took them because of the movement speed increases, but they can be swapped out for something else. And the last spec that Hunter offers is survival. This is the most commonly used spec for survival. It's also the most commonly used PvP spec. All but 4 of the talent options that we take, Savage Strikes, Killer Instinct, Lightning Reflexes, and Survivability, are geared towards slowing down or immobilizing the target. We don't take Wyvern Sting just because it's a bad talent. It only lasts 12 seconds, any damage breaks it, and it's only usable out of combat. That 1 point skipped in survival allows us to pick up Scattershot in Marksmanship, which is a much better trade-off. The reasoning for taking Marksmanship over Beast Mastery is because we need to focus on the damage upgrades that Marksmanship offers, much like we had to do when we were taking the Beast Mastery tree. It also allows us to pick up improved Concussion Shot, which is huge for a PvP situation. And let's not forget what I had just mentioned, it also allows us to pick up Scattershot. Everything else for this spec is pretty much self-explanatory based on everything else we've covered so far. Some people will make the argument that you should take Clever Traps and Trap Mastery. If you do end up taking those 2 talents, most people would take 4 points from Survivalist to fill 2 out of 2 for both of those talents. Honestly, it's not that bad of an option. However, I personally prefer to take the extra health over the better traps. Well, anyways guys, that sums up the Hunter. I know this was a lot shorter and a lot more simple and down to earth than the Druid video was, but like I said, it's a much more simple class to go over because there isn't much flexibility and there's only 3 roles to fill within 3 specs. I hope this helps you guys get a better understanding for what the Hunter is and what the Hunter can do. Let me know down in the comments what class you guys want me to go over next. Right now I'm leaning towards doing either the Warrior or the Rogue. Let me know what you guys want. As always guys, take care and I'll see you in the next one.
Hey, it's Ratted here. Don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe as well. It really helps out the channel. We put out multiple new videos each week and we appreciate all of your support. Thanks for watching everyone and cheers.